Well, one of the psychological and, I would say existential benefits of discussing Malcolm now in his life is that there's an ancient African, proverb that says, "When you speak a person's name, they live again."
In May 2025, Dakar, Senegal became the meeting point between Black radical thought and Islamic tradition in order for us to celebrate the 100th birth anniversary of Malcolm X. This event brought together Muslim scholars, activists, artists, and community leaders from across the African continent and the diaspora. We came, however, not just to honor Malcolm X, but to actually engage with his legacy as a political thinker, a spiritual leader, and a symbol of global Black liberation.
So first of all, the 100th birthday of Malcolm is significant, right? And he is someone who has been significant in my life, right? My mother, when she talked about becoming Muslim, she became Muslim because of Malcolm. When I started the organization Sapelo Square, we started on Malcolm's birthday, right? Because he embodied kind of the best of who we can be. So one, I wanted to do something.
And today, as we commemorate Malcolm, he's alive. He lives with us. And his example informs us. One of the sterling qualities of Malcolm was that he had the ability to change, to improve on his learning, and to be able to move forward in his understanding of his people's struggle and of those issues that affected his time. And also, too, the lessons of Malcolm teaches us that the price for knowledge is to pay attention.
This event is really important. I think the positive consequences of it being in Senegal, in Dakar, really symbolizes much about Malcolm's teachings. As a Pan-Africanist, as a person concerned about human rights, and also the connectivity between oppressed peoples. Stories, although there may be nuances and differences, they often have very same or very similar enemies. And so I think, one, that was here. Secondly, we have to celebrate our heroes. And we have to be in community when we do that. And so to be here acknowledging the centennial birthday of Malcolm X, our shining prince, our Shaheed, our brother, our elder, our scholar, our freedom fighter. How could I not?
I think this whole conference has been deeply impactful. It's the amalgam of meeting people, learning, listening to elders, listening to the scholars who are writing new literature on Malcolm. All of it has been deeply impactful. But I think for me, as someone who's not Muslim, at a Muslim conference in a Muslim country, I'm reminded of the central importance of Malcolm's religious and spiritual formation, and how this was so deeply central to his political worldview. His world-making process was so deeply rooted in his religious conviction.
It would have to be the conversations that have happened outside, in the hallways, at meals with people. Because very rarely, so one time when we were standing outside the elevator, Brother Duruba was telling us about how Asada Shakur took Shahada and how she was a Muslim. I never knew that. I heard it rumored, but now we have it, straight from. And at the same time, I was talking to someone else about Orisha traditions, and then talking to somebody else about Sufi traditions in Senegal, and the kinds of conversations and perspectives that have been gathered here, I have never seen gathered in one place at one time. And so that's created I can't even remember all of the conversations and the interesting things that I've learned, but the unique mix of people, perspectives, ages, has made for a really incredible and fruitful and generative mix.
We need, right? It is a necessity. And so to be able to participate on a panel with some of my dear sisters, to hear from elder women, to hear from a younger woman who's written a book, right, Naja, on mapping Malcolm, have been the highlights of this conference. And underscores, I think, a really important critical point that as we imagine the future, and inshallah, our descendants, right, 100 years from now are reflecting on the words that we shared, it will also be that what they can mark as progress, as growth, is that women continue to remain essential. They continue to bring a level of vibrancy and clarity that we will not be able to progress without.
Just the elder panels is probably my favorite part that we've had so far, and they were all brilliant. So there were no letdowns. All of it was brilliant. I think that was just so powerful. Both elder panels, just inspired, and these are people who sacrificed for us, who did the work, laid the black print, as I call it, for us to learn from and build on. So there's this connectivity between history and Afrofuturism, or Islamic Afrofuturism, and how do we bridge that?
I think one of the things that I've learned so much and reminded of is to continue to do the work, right? And that seems like it's, okay, yeah, very taken for granted. But something that one of the organizers of the conference reminded, because we're human beings, and so we do get in moments of despair, right? Especially as we see our brothers and sisters that are suffering and in creation, right, that is undergoing peril. But he reminded me of the people that are closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And the thing that they kept on doing is still inhabiting this place of peace, right? But they, number one, didn't have fear, right? But they were like, no, okay, we see what's happening, but we continue to do the work. And if you need to take your people to higher ground, take your people to higher ground, right? So for me in this space was, I see higher grounds, and I'm reminded of higher grounds.
Well, first of all, we are living in a historical moment right now, and it's very important for Muslims and for Africans and for all progressive people to come together and to begin to build an understanding of the situation that we are in, that humanity is in, and that the Ummah has to become a leader in our struggle for liberation and for freedom and for a better world.
I'm inspired to learn more about Malcolm. I'm inspired to take what I already know and go deeper and go granular. I'm inspired to find more photographs of Malcolm. I'm inspired to connect with people who knew him, or connect with people who knew him, maybe a degree outside of that. So my search for knowledge about Malcolm continues, and I think that that is one of the charges that he would want us, because he was a seeker of knowledge. He was a reader, he was a thinker. And so I want to follow in those footsteps.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'bud. Iyyaka na'bud wa iyyaka nasta'in. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Earlier this week, we spent 3 days participating in a series of conversations at the Museum of Black Civilizations in order to talk about a number of things: Black sacred geographies, teaching Malcolm X, etc. So what does it mean to be both Black and Muslim on the continent, but also in the diaspora, right? Highlighting the legacy of the Black radical tradition, not only understood as a series of resistance movements, organizations, discourses, relationships that occur throughout the Western Hemisphere, but then also pulling continental Africa into that.
So I wanted to be a part of these conversations, to build with our community, our global Muslim community all over the world, and then also to be reminded and gain strength from all of the brothers and sisters that are here, but also to have that, we always need that recalibration, that clarity of what do we need to be doing next, right? How do we refine the practice and the work that we're already doing? How do we accelerate it, right? Or what more work can we start to build together?
I am just really, I'm not speechless, but I'm just so inspired. I'm so, I feel a sense of energy. I feel a sense of pride to be able to come back home to the continent. I've never been here before, but what I see is resilience in spite of the pain and suffering that our people endured here on Goree Island, to walk through what is the worst conditions that people have to go through on their own land. It moved me to tears, and it's just something that I feel so strongly about, because even though this happened, there is this sense of resilience, there's this pride in what they have, and I'm just blessed and fortunate to be here. I take this back with me as a means of inspiring us to continue the work of building bridges and connections here to the continent.
Biggest lessons is just really how disconnected we are, but there is the ability to get connected, you know, and having that cohesion amongst the diaspora. You feel me? I think it's something so important for us to have, and the lessons we're able to learn, you know, because it's one thing to see on social media people talking about what's happening in Senegal, or maybe people was talking about Colombia, or people was talking about different areas where we are as African people. But to be able to actually speak to people, to learn with people, to actually be able to build, you know what I'm saying? It's like, imagine all of us from wherever we are now collectively taking a brick and now we building like a new nation with these different bricks and the way we're able to build, you know? So I think that's the biggest thing I've been able to take away, is like how disconnected we can be. And for efforts like this to be able to connect and to build that new cohesion is how we also develop as human beings who want to have dignity, who want to build and see humanity grow and evolve, that, especially as Muslim people.
The program included conferences, debates, performances, collective prayers, and visits to historical sites such as Goree Island and Medina Bay. This was not a commemorative event only. It was a platform for critical thought, dialogue, and transmission, a reaffirmation that the struggles Malcolm X stood for, freedom, dignity, and truth, remain urgent and alive today.
And to try and form some type of organization or create a situation where the young people, our young people, the students and others, could study the problems of our people for a period of time and then come up with a new analysis and give us some new ideas and some new suggestions as to how to approach a problem that too many other people had been playing around with for too long.